Welcome, everybody. My name is Mike Martin. I'm from CASIO America, and today we have a really special artist spotlight coming up. But first, I'd like to introduce my co-host, joining me 822 miles to my east, Mr. Rich Formidoni. How you doing, Rich?
Doing not too bad, Mike. Thank you very much. We are in phase 2 over here. Things are starting to open back up, and it is T-minus 6 days till I can go to the barber.
Wow. Well, looking pretty good. I've had one home haircut so far, and I'm due for another one.
I'll be perfectly honest. There's a lot of product keeping this mane in place right now. I'm not proud of it.
Oh my goodness. Well, thanks for trying.
I'm trying, at least. You should have seen it 10 minutes ago.
Awesome. Well, we have a really special guest joining us today. He's actually the Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Sharp Home Appliances, where he emphasizes the concept of bringing creativity and relevancy together as one competitive force. In music, he's performed at Carnegie Hall, he's toured the world with various bands, and he actually met one of the founders of CASIO, and he's joining us today from his home studio in New Jersey. Welcome to the broadcast, Mr. Peter Weedfald. How you doing, Peter?
Hey, great. Hey, Rich. Hey, Mike. Thank you very much. And yeah, Mr. CASIO. Most people don't know that CASIO and the real name is CASIO. It was a great honor to meet him and spend quality time, and he turned me on to the Casio Privia and Casio keyboard, so it was a blessing. He's a great man, and we all miss him, right?
Yeah, we sure do. And we have one of his sons leading us now.
Yes.
So it's you're correct. The Casio brand name, they changed the spelling of it so people would know how to say it, but it's Casio with an H and a K at the front. So. And I just want to remind everybody during the broadcast, while we're talking to Peter, if you have any questions, we're watching the chats on both Facebook and YouTube. And so if you have questions for Peter along the way or for us, we will be watching that chat and bring you on into the broadcast. So, but Peter, I would just wanted to start with you. What are your earliest musical influences, and what led you to start playing piano?
So, my earliest was actually classical music. I studied with Ophelia Dianavius, whose sons, Augusta and Roger Dianavius, were famous. If you go back then, they had the big giant vinyl albums. But she taught me, and so I was classically trained on a classical piano. And so my roots really were in prog rock until I ran into the Beatles. And the Beatles just blew my mind. The whole evolution from, Twist and Shout all the way through the White Album, all the way through Sgt. Pepper. It made me realize that it's okay to change. It's okay to have fun in different genres and to actually, grow the way you look and think. So classical piano was my beginning. I was fortunate to play Carnegie Hall multiple times as a young lad. And then I let it go for a long time, and I just decided to come back to it about 5 years ago. So very, very exciting.
Wow. And how would you describe, we will play some clips of your music in the broadcast today, but if somebody asks you what kind of music do you play, how would you describe your style?
So I would say that because of my classical background, prog rock is something I'm very excited about, but I love jazz and I love blues. And then I love a mixture of all of it. So I think if you really saw the 100+ songs that are out there in the cloud somewhere, sometimes it's heavy-duty prog rock, sometimes it's heavy-duty blues, and sometimes it's contemporary. So I like playing it all, but I will tell you that, and I say this to everyone who is kind enough to listen and watch, creativity, as you said earlier on, this is what it's all about. Creativity in business and relevancy in business equals a win. So for me, when I look at the Beatles or Emerson, Lake and Palmer or Rush or the Stones, all those phenomenal groups, The Who, it really was a flavor of great creativity plus relevancy because I like that genre. I like that beat and sound, and it was a win. And the conundrum is, we know there's so many people who play and create an album or a song, and they have one big hit, zoom, and they're gone. Right. Why? Because the formula stopped. So at Sharp Home Appliances business, where we've got everything from best-of-breed air purifiers to built-in kitchen products to commercial microwaves, regular microwaves, and so on, we use creativity and connect it with the relevancy of a channel, a market, a product, from the cosmetics all the way through the marketplace. And what's fun is I get to do this here in my grotto called Studio W with a lot of keyboards, especially Casio.
Yeah, and Peter, this is the biggest thing that sets you apart from most of our other artists, is that you are known for leading large teams in very large roles in very large companies, currently at Sharp Home Appliances. So the big question is, with all the responsibility that these positions have entailed, how do you find time to write music?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm an empty nester. So my wife is kind enough on the weekends to allow me to do things around the house, but also come into this Studio W. And for me, it's relaxing. It's and it's no different if you play golf, if you like to, if you're an artist, if you write poems or a book. That's all about creativity outside of the office, and it's a way to relax, detune, and get prepared for the following week. So I find time, but you'd be amazed if you're an empty nester and you have a wife, Frances Ann, who's just wonderful to me. You find time to do it, and it doesn't take that long because I've been doing it for so long. I can basically put things together fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm. And do you find a lot of your business experience translates to your musical composition, or does it exercise a totally different part of your mind?
No, I think that I really separate. I don't come into the studio thinking about our air purifiers or our wonderful built-in microwave drawer. But I will tell you, Rich, it's a great question. It does go the other way. It absolutely. So if you're a golfer, if you're a guitarist, keyboard, whatever it might be, when you're in the work setting, don't let it go. Bring in creativity, because creativity plus relevancy equals a win. And make sure you're being really creative, whether you're in the finance department, administrative department, sales, marketing. That's what it's about. And that's what I love about Casio. Casio, I have to be really frank with you, I'm not a heavy-duty IT technician with all of these different tools you see. I am a person who has heart in my fingers. And the first time I played a Casio and listened to the sound, Mike, and played the keyboard, it was so close to my Yamaha baby grand piano, it blew me away. So really, I have a lot of different keyboards. I've got Korgs, I've got Yamahas, I've got, you name them, Novarians, Novations. But I really love the Casio, and it's about creativity. I can create better with that tool than with another tool. And that's what I like to do at work. Do we have the best tools to create, to actually amplify and promulgate the power of Sharp's brand and Sharp's great products underneath it? So there is a nice handshake, Rich.
That's awesome. And so are there any practices that you adhere to in your world at Sharp that you bring into your mindset that you bring into when you sit down at the piano? Are there parallels that you use there as well?
So the parallel for me is, you ever been to a really great Broadway show? And at the end of the show, it was so great. Your body jumps out of the chair. You have no idea why. You're applauding like crazy. You literally have tears coming down from your eyes. And the first thing you say is, am I that good as what we just saw on stage at work? Am I that good in my own studio? So I believe that what I love to do is inspire others, my team members, my partners, my channel partners, our design teams, everybody, to really stretch. Because creativity and imagination allows you to escape the predictable. The predictable is nobody likes that cosmetic and design of a product. Nobody likes the song that you just wrote. Why? Because you are not highly creative. So yes, I think for me, I'm blessed. And I keep bringing up someone playing golf. Please, if you're a golfer out there, golfing is about creativity. Artwork is about creativity. Playing with the kids is about creativity. So we need much, much more creativity. And one last data point, I'm really still forlorn that they never taught us creativity in school, Mike and Rich. Yeah. They never said to us at 5th grade, you're doing this to learn how to be creative. So when you grow up, whatever your job is in life, you'll be more creative and practiced at it. So I love all this creativity around me and all the tools. And I like to bring it to work and bring work back into the studio. Yeah.
That's great. And one of the things you just mentioned previously, one of the mantras that you've mentioned that I enjoy is creativity plus relevancy plus speed equals growth.
Yes.
So when you're composing music, where does the relevancy come from? Are you looking at the world of music around you or looking inward?
That's great. So those that don't have a full recording studio like I do, and don't have the ability to have a 16-track recorder and doesn't have 14 delicious keyboards in here, it means that the permutations will drive you out of your mind. Meaning, so if I lay down a track on my Casio Privia, now what do I do? Sounds great, I think. Well, what do I do? Well, how about a guitar? So is the guitar the right instrument to complement creatively that piano? Or should I bring in, a bass drum? Or should I bring in a tuba? Should I bring in a, electric guitar? So all of that is about building teams, right? So work, Sharp, is about grabbing everyone who's got talent. This talent right here is he's really good in the channel. Make believe he's really good on guitar. This person over here is really great in marketing. Make believe that they're taking the position of a synthesizer. And how do you orchestrate at work? And how do you orchestrate in here? So the most difficult part, Rich, I'm sure you know this, and Mike, is actually the orchestration and the mixing when you have the construct so you can be creative and relevant. The relevancy, to your point, Rich, here's some economy of language. The relevance for me is to make sure that the instruments and the volume of the instruments and the tone of the instruments are complementary to the creative construct that you're trying to bring out. That's not so easy.
Awesome. So, Peter, what are the things that inspire you to make music? What inspires your songwriting?
I think that's a great question. I think what inspires me is when I have the fire in the belly, is a lot of passion that I have as an individual. But I think it's all the music I've ever listened to in my life. I think the blessing for me is if you think about some of the greatest artists like Al Di Meola. Al Di Meola does not play prog rock. He does not, he's not playing Beatles type music. Most artists are in one venue, one genre. What I love about this is that I can reach across because, again, Rich, back to work, sometimes I'm promulgating and talking about our Sharp plasma cluster ion technology purifier, and sometimes I'm talking about our brand new built-in refrigerator. Those are two different places, right? So it's the same with me with music. I've influenced by so many great artists, and I really took a shot in the heart when I heard that Keith Emerson took his life. And I still want to know today, did Greg Lake, if Keith Emerson knew that Greg would die 6 months later from cancer, would Keith have taken his life? That's all I want to know.
Wow.
Right?
Yep.
Maybe not. But I'm influenced by a lot of great people.
Question.
Yeah. And by the way, we're all influenced by going down to a music genre where we see somebody we never even heard of before, right?
Yep. So
I think you were going to ask me a real quick question, which is why, if I toured and when I was young, played in all these clubs and concert halls, opened up John McLaughlin and Mahavishnu Orchestra, Loggins and Messina, Badorf and Roddy, and other ones, why did I stop?
Good question.
You want the answer?
Yeah,
sure, absolutely.
So here I am. I'm the only one in my band that went to college. And then I said, if I am not Elton John by the time I'm 21, I'm going to stop. Now, watch the odds, everybody. There's only one Elton John just in that space. Actually two. One's Billy Joel. But there's only one from America. It's Billy Joel. And there's only one from England. And that's Elton John. Now, you can name others. But I'm talking about making it. Those dudes made it. And so then I started playing in local clubs. I went down to the Bitter End, Max's Kansas City, the Village Gate. And guess what happened when I went in? I'm supposed to gig at 10. There's somebody on at 9. Phenomenal voice. Phenomenal song. Phenomenal everything. I could never be that good, but they're 55 years old. I go backstage. Hey, dude, how come I don't hear you on the radio? How come I don't know your music? You're unbelievable. He just looks at you and goes, dude, listen, here's what my life is. I gig till 2 in the morning. I go home. I have 3 children. I go to sleep. I wake up in the morning. I have breakfast. I give guitar lessons till about 3 o'clock. And then I come back and I work all night. I do that 5 nights a week.
Right.
You meet 25 people like that, men and women. You start to think, I don't want to do that the rest of my life. I wanted to be Elton John. So, I kind of weaned it off and went into corporate America. Right. And I do both now, right?
Right. It's great to have the flexibility to both.
Yeah, striking the balance is very impressive for sure. There's a couple of questions coming in on YouTube here. One is, who is a person in your life that inspires you most to create your music? That's from Gina Marie Greco.
Well, thank you, Gina Marie. I'll tell you who inspires me most is my wife, who I've been married to for about 35 years now. She is a nurse. She's an inspiration to be with. She's so creative in her own way, but she's not like me. She's very humble, but she's a great creative person. So many of the songs that I get to write, they're about her. Sometimes I let her know, sometimes I don't, but she's a great inspiration, as is my daughter, Tara Lynn. Who is just a beautiful young lady, very smart, very successful. So the two of them are really my inspiration. I will say, 400 years ago when I was young, my inspiration were women in general, as I'm sure it was for everybody. But today, I've got a much better, solid foundation. I've been married one woman all these years, and I love her like crazy. So that's my inspiration.
Awesome.
That's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Actually, one other question coming in. From YouTube. I think I've got the same one here, Rich. Who do you believe you most sound like?
Well, I think that any artist would say, I hope I sound mostly like me. But to be fair, that would be too probably arrogant. But I think I probably most sound like some kind of a mixture between David Bowie and Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Somewhere in between there, if you want to bookend them. And I don't mind being there. I kind of like being there. I have tried for the audience. I have tried to do hip hop. I have tried to get into that genre because I love all these different genres. I just can't get there.
All right. Can you take us through Studio W a little bit and talk about how your songwriting process happens?
Sure. So behind me, I have a Tascam. And that Tascam has got 16 tracks available to it. I also have a Tascam board, which is the 32-track board. Everything you see in here, probably about 14 keyboards and other instruments and sound instruments are plugged into the master Tascam, the 32-track. And then that gets filtered into the Tascam 16-track, where we have volumes and pans and sounds and everything else. And sometimes, Rich, I start on the piano because that's where my core was, meaning the direct piano sound. And sometimes I start with a synthesizer playing in the background, and then from there deciding where I'm going to go with it. But that's what I love about creativity. The fun part for me is there's no report card. To be clear, I have not gone out, Rich and Mike, don't be shocked. I have not performed live in 30 years, and I don't have big pension to go out and play live. I have zero pension to do it. I do it because it helps me be more creative, both at work and at home and with my family. So in the creative process, I'll lay down a track, let's say, of piano. Then I might lay down a track with organ. Then I may lay down the track of drums, because now at least I'll have the core beat, and then I'll realize there's all these things missing. The core's not there, or this isn't there. I'll lay down voice. Okay, now I got voice. And then beyond that, I look for many, many extra sounds I can put in there that aren't boring, but exciting and dynamic, like bringing a synthesizer in already, or a heavy-duty electric guitar that I can bring in. So, and then when you're all done, that's when the problem begins, right, Rich? Then you got to mix it.
That's right.
This is too loud.
That's the problem.
Yeah, and then if you want, put it in video. But I'm pretty quick at these. I sometimes wonder why it takes a year to do an album. I'm not quite sure I completely understand that. Maybe because it's just complete perfectionists, or maybe because they sell 100 million albums like John Bon Jovi did. I don't know.
Has the pandemic affected your musicality in any specific way? Are you finding yourself being more or less creative?
Yeah, so I did write a composition called Pandemic, believe it or not. So it really, and in the video, I've got people walking around with masks on, and I kind of did it to kind of mark this moment in time, so I could look back 5 years from now and say, oh yeah, that's right. There was this pandemic, and I wrote a song about it. I wrote a song about 9/11. And just recently, I wrote a song called George, and that was about the tragedy in Minneapolis, which I know affected all of us, all sides of the table, and it affected me. So I composed a song called George, but it's kind of very, it's kind of calendar topic. Whatever's going on in the world, I kind of cling to it, and somehow it comes up in my head. The music, the words, how I want to play through. and it's really a lot of fun. So.
Well, I mean, there's hundreds, I believe, of songs on your YouTube channel. I mean, you're absolutely so prolific. So, actually, let's roll a clip of one of the pieces you put up recently. So here we go.
Across the southern lights, I remember another time. Across your southern highs, I remember you and I.
And we're back. So, Peter, that's a piece called Blues Rush, which just went up on your YouTube channel the other day. Really cool vocal harmonies in there, in addition to the piano. Can you tell us a little bit about that track?
Yeah, I appreciate it. So I laid down the original vocal. As I said before, I want to unleash capacity in the song. I want it to be really vibrant. And I decided I would go back and put a track on top of the original voice. But of course, I had to hit a note that would be complementary to the actual voice itself. So it's sometimes hard to see it and taste it, but you will notice, and this is fun about creativity, in some tunes that I create, I've got more of a raspy voice. In other tunes, I've got more of a sort of a Greg Lake voice, if you will. So, depending on what genre I'm in and how I'm feeling, I'll mix that up.
Fantastic. I mean, some great stuff on there. And again, I encourage everybody to search for Peter Weedfald on YouTube. So much content, so prolific and amazing. How often are you composing something new?
Every weekend.
Oh,
it's a project that I say I want to do it, but it's not arduous. It's delicious. It's going into, as I said, I get to detune, come all the way down, relax, come in the studio. Just for the record, when I am composing, I said this to Rich and Mike, everybody, these babies go on. Because it kind of really mellows the room and allows me to relax and be creative and have fun. So I always think, what I tell people at work is there's three things I always want to do. I want to have a ton of fun at work. And I think everyone would agree you want to have fun. And fun is being successful. Fun is working with people you trust. Fun is working with an instrumentation that works. I want to make very good money for my family. In this metaphor, I want my wife to be happy that I'm down here and it works. And then I want to build a team of people at Sharp of Home Appliances, which we've done under the ribs of the umbrella of our boss, Jim Sandusky, who's a great leader. And I want to do the same here. I want to build a team in this grotto, this musical grotto, of all these instruments playing with each other and playing together to create and be relevant so that we can feel like we've created something we're proud of and bring it out into the marketplace.
Fantastic. So you played Carnegie Hall when you were
7 times. 7 times.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, we all have the dream, to play there at some point in time. You were young. What was that like?
12 years old, right?
Yeah. And I have to tell you, this is really kind of funny. Back then, all I did was read sheet music. And I'll never forget this. We had to be at the Carnegie Hall. I forget one time. Let's say it's 1 o'clock. And my mother came running down the stairs, and I was practicing the Beethoven piece I was going to play. And I got literally to the last measure. And she said, "That's it. We're leaving now." What do you think happened the first time I performed? I played it perfectly. I could see my teacher backstage like going, yeah. And I came to the last measure, totally fog-bound. Could not remember.
Couldn't get that out of your head. Yeah.
Yeah, but being in Carnegie Hall at that age, you don't really realize what's going on. But maybe opening up John McLaughlin and Mahavishnu Orchestra, and John is a great guitarist. And I remember setting up our band in front of his, and when we were all done, the audience went nuts for us. I'm like, this is it. I went backstage, and I stood around like a doofball, like this thinking, okay, someone's going to come up and go, hi, I'm from Arista Records, and we just discovered you. Come with me. And it doesn't happen.
Right.
It doesn't happen that way. So, playing the big halls is fantastic. Having the emblem and the regal opportunity to play Carnegie Hall was something that I feel blessed for. And maybe that's part of the reason why I continue, is because I don't want to be one of those people that started something that was really good at it and then years later just let it go. So I like being in it.
Awesome.
That's great.
So,
Peter, you have
Rich,
a long history with Casio. Am I back?
Yep.
I know my connection is not so great.
all good.
Okay. Peter, you've got a long history with Casio, and as we said before, you actually met Kazuo Casio,
Yes.
one of the company's founders. Could you relay that story for us?
Yes. Anyways, it was CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, which I know you're all familiar with. And he invited me to come to he rented out a giant space, a giant suite at the MGM Grand Hotel, and invited me to dinner. I didn't know why he was inviting me to dinner, but I'm like, this is a great honor, And by the way, I was with Samsung at the time, so I'm like, well, I guess they don't compete. What am I going to have dinner with him? Anyways, we had this wonderful dinner. He's such a gentle, kind man. We talked about music and keyboards. And I'm sitting there, and while we're talking, right in the middle, probably 20 feet away, was a Casio Privia piano, just sitting in the middle of the room with a chair. And after we had dessert, he just looked at me and he said, oh, now will you honor me? I go, I'm sorry? Will you perform for me now? And,
Wow.
For a guy I really didn't even know, I performed for about 90 minutes, Rich. And it was mind-boggling. He actually, 4 weeks later, presented me with a very ancient teapot to give my wife. And then he adorned me with my very first Casio keyboard. And I really enjoyed playing it, trust me. I'm not flapping because you're from Casio. Seriously, I'm a guy that's played Steinways to Yamahas to Baldwins to a whole variety of different keyboards. Again, the action, the sound, the disciplines of those sounds, to me are really best of breed. And I'm really very, very happy to have this relationship.
Well, you answered my next question, which was going to be, you've been playing Privia for quite a while. What do you like best about them? And I think
yes. So as I kind of answered it, but I think what I like best about it, beyond everything else, is trying to figure out how to let the world know about it. And I start with creativity, because creativity is what the discussion should be. So when I think of your products, your keyboards that I love, I have 4 of them right now. I don't say they're the cold plastic. You don't sell cold plastic. You don't sell a bunch of keys and buttons. You sell the dream of creating something that a person will feel good about and want to share and be proud of. You
Well said.
sell a dream, right? And it's the
Absolutely.
same for us. At Sharp, we don't sell the cold steel, of an air purifier or plastic. We sell the creativity of understanding that you will breathe better. You take 22,000 breaths a day, Rich, and you don't want to come in your house with this mold and mildew and caca and bacteria. You need an active air purifier. Now I'm doing a commercial from Sharp, plasma cluster ion technology. And, that's what it's all about. So you sell a dream. And the quiz question is, how do you actually motivate that dream in the brand and in all the instances? And I'll say it one time: brands do not make products. Products make brands. And so in word of mouth of everyone I know that has a Casio Privia, I can tell you they think the Casio brand is top notch and they love it. And that's what it's all about. You can't come out with a brand going, hi, we're Casio, buy this keyboard. And you buy it and it's not a great experience because you just destroyed your brand because of your products. So build great products, which you do, that compete with some really formidable competitors out there, like we compete with formidable competitors, and that will build your brand. It will super fuel it. And I also say this, Rich, a brand is a metal, M-E-T-T-L-E. A brand is a metal. You must shine every day. And every day I come down here, and every weekend I come down here, and there's my Casio, you are shining that brand through my heart, my fingers, and my mind so I can better articulate and create. I don't have to worry about it. And I love the feel of your keyboards. I got to tell you, I love the feel. One last quick point. When I bought my last 6-foot Yamaha grand piano, I took my wife. We went to 2 or 3 dealers, and I tried. You can't believe, Mike, how many Yamaha pianos I tried in the showroom. I finally found one, and I said, this action is incredible. I love it. I said to the salesman, what action? He goes, it's Bradbury action. I go, I love it. I'm going to take this piano. He went to the back room to go get the paperwork. Guess what I did, Rich? I climbed underneath the piano with a black magic marker, and I signed the soundboard, and I dated it. And I got back up before he came out. I said, listen, make sure you deliver this piano with this action. Guess what happened, Mike?
A different one arrived. Yep.
That's right. Here they come, bringing the piano in pieces. And I looked underneath and I said, guys, this isn't my piano. Yes, it is. They're looking at the paperwork. It's not my piano. Called the salesman. He said, that's your piano. I go in the room, the one I played last, look underneath, and he freaked out. So that to me is the power of having great keyboards with great sound and great cosmetics, because you're not selling that. You're selling the dream of having a great time, whether you're a pro or not a pro. I'm going to consider myself a little bit of a pro, if you will. But if you're a starter or you want to get back into it, don't waste your time. Just go to Casio Privia. It's not a commercial, guys. No one asked me to say it, but it's the truth.
No, I'm loving it. Feel free to keep going.
Yeah, and by the way, everyone, Rich used to be at Korg. So here he is at 5 years now at Casio, so he's been converted.
That's right. Peter, this has been great. Just to wrap up a bit, one of the things we admire most about you is that you devote a lot of energy to giving back through charitable organizations. And I wanted to ask, are there any in particular that you think are doing great work right now that you want people to know about?
Well, first of all, thanks for saying that. I do spend in my lifetime, and I won't go through it, but I have been blessed to come up with creative ideas on how to raise money for those less fortunate. My belief is that if you're born without a leg, you're not equal to me. So all men are created equal. All men and women are equal. I don't care if you're tall, green, whatever. I believe everyone's equal. But if you're born without a leg as a baby, you're not equal to me. If you're born blind as a baby, you're not equal to me. If you're born with a mind disorder, you're not equal. So I've spent the last 35 years finding ways to be creative, to give back, so those children can have real equality. That's what the quality is. So recently I've been working with Attitudes in Reverse, also known as AIR, with my friend Lee Hornick. And, they're an organization that's really, really focused on depression and teen suicide. And, they've got all kinds of school programs and, great website and so on. And they're really, really caring people. They had their own tragedy. That's why they started this many years ago. Very, very successful. But, you go across the board, I love what John Bon Jovi is doing.
Oh, yeah.
He worked with me in the past when we did the Four Seasons of Hope, and he was the music for the Four Seasons of Hope. But him giving back and the restaurants that he has and his Robin Hood Fund and so on and so forth. So there's many. There's the Magic Johnson Foundation, which is about urban development and those kids who can't get into school. I continue to be a fan of Boomer Esiason, who is a quarterback for Cincinnati, the Jets. And he's done a yeoman's work, a muscle, a powerhouse forward on something called the Boomer Esiason Foundation, which is all about cystic fibrosis. Those who are affected by it. There's only about 35 to 50,000 people who have cystic fibrosis. His son, Gunnar, has it.
Oh, wow.
But Boomer has raised, I'm telling you, millions upon millions of dollars to give to hospitals and centers to help. So that's just to name a few. But thank you for asking. I didn't know we were going to talk about it. I get excited about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, one last data point. Sharp, the company I work for, their HR department, Susan Osgood and that team, they have so many charities in the local community. The ones I'm talking about were national, but all the work we do in the local community, including with Valley Health and others, is just outstanding. And I'm proud to work for a company that loves to give back also.
Wow. Well, I was sold on an air purifier before we even started this, but now I know who I'm getting it from.
That's right. Just call me.
Awesome.
Very good.
Well, Peter, it's been fantastic talking to you. When we close, I'm going to play more of your music, but I would encourage everybody to, search for Peter Weedfald on YouTube and check out your extensive playlist. So much music there to enjoy. But it's been a real honor for us to spend this time with you today. Where besides your YouTube channel, any place people can go to learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah. How about the CASIO artist page?
There we go.
That's the big one. Just type in Peter Weedfald and CASIO artist, and there is all the music. And I have my own on Facebook, Studio W, it's called, and you can go to Studio W, and the music's there. But I know we're hanging up. I just want to say this is really important to me. This is what life's all about. So everyone knows I've never met Mike or Rich before, but I have a deeply rooted relationship with a brand called CASIO because it helps with my dream. And so now I have 2 new friends, and I hope I have other new friends who have listened and watched who are very kind to do that, and I appreciate that very much. So God bless everyone. Stay safe and strong, and we'll see you in the music cloud.
Awesome. All right,
Thank
with
you
that
very
being
much,
said,
Peter.
thank you, Peter, and we're going to play one of your songs and say goodnight. We'll see you next time on our next Artist Spotlight. Here we go. And maybe. Here's your other video. There it is.
Can you see the lights